Hey everyone! The first story is called She Wants a Manager. I work in customer service as someone who answers general questions in the form of insurance agreements of the car variety. It's the last 2 minutes of my shift and I'm eagerly waiting for it to end so I can be done for the week. I get the dreaded last minute call at literally the last minute of my shift. And who is it but a gem of a human being? I do my peppy greeting and am immediately met with the favorite Karen phrase. Can I speak to your manager? May I have your account number or phone number to pull up your account? No. Add me to your manager. Can I ask what you are calling about? No, but you can put me over to your manager. I do apologize, but without any information, I wouldn't be able to transfer you over to my manager. I don't have a direct one either, so without the info, I wouldn't be able to know which manager she needs to talk to. What's your name? My name is Axelot. Okay then, Axelot. I'm looking to get an agreement, and I have a question that is a bit above your pay grade. So, get me over to your manager. I can answer basic questions, however we only administer the agreements. Anything involving the purchase process will be handled. Get me over to your manager. Now I am done with this woman, and any willingness I had to possibly help or advise is gone. She wants a manager so bad? Let me get her the one known for shutting people down with ease. So I do what she asked, and she thanks me. What she doesn't know is that the agreement she's looking at buying is incredibly specialized. While the supervisor in charge of setting up claims for the agreement can answer coverage questions, he knows nothing about any sort of benefits or other basic niche information for it. Outside of the department that specializes in it, which is already gone for the night, mine is the go-to department. And I work the latest shift for mine. And neither of our departments work Saturdays. So in having to be an entitled Karen, she just blew her one chance of having her questions likely answered until Monday. I guess she shouldn't have just dismissed me as a plebeian who knows nothing for not having supervisor in my title. This story is called Poor Billy. I work at a job that requires me to make service calls to our customers' homes. My job requires me to be a jack of all trades. And even experienced new hires often need a good bit of on-the-job training before they can go out on their own. As the most experienced tech, I often take these new technicians under my wing for at least a week or two. And I'm always available to help them out with advice if they need it. About 2 years ago, we had one new hire I call Billy. Billy was a problem child in every sense of the word. He thought very highly of himself. He acted like he knew everything and told me he didn't need me to explain or show him stuff and to just let him do it. Billy was the man. He could do this job in his sleep, despite not having a background in it, and he should have been given a van to make his own service calls from day one. Inevitably, he'd mess things up and then complain that I hadn't shown him how to do the fix or how to troubleshoot the issue. Clearly, this was my fault as his instructor and not his fault at all. Whatever. I used to be a sergeant in the army. I'm used to babysitting entitled kids and even getting them to actually be productive once in a while. So I adjusted my usual style of teaching to account for his giant ego and thin skin. I thought we were starting to get somewhere when my boss John told me Billy would be riding along with another technician. I knew that Billy must have complained to John about me, as it was only Wednesday. I usually have at least a week with new hires before they ride along with a couple of other technicians to ensure they get a well-rounded experience. The tech who took him out sent John and me a text within 2 hours, asking how did it go with Billy the last 2 days? Because he's a jerk. Seems like little Billy was making new friends already. The next day, Billy convinced John that he was ready to go out on his own. So he was given some easier jobs and a service van. Well, on Friday, one of the account representatives called me up and asked if I could swing by our house on the way back to the warehouse. Apparently, the homeowners were not too happy with Billy's work. Liz knew me enough to know I wouldn't mind a slight detour to fix this. I even told her not to create a service ticket to fix what Billy messed up. At the rate he was going, I knew he probably wasn't going to last. But not having that ticket in his metrics would be better for him if he did turn out to be decent. It actually is kind of a tricky fix if you follow the book steps. There are some confined spaces that you have to work in. I usually add 2 steps to remove and reinstall another part. With that part out of the way, you can breeze through it. Otherwise, you're mostly working by touch and you have to angle things just so, especially if you have larger hands. I could understand why Billy might have gotten frustrated and just given up. I myself wanted to bang my head against the wall a couple of times in the past before I decided to be smarter. One day rolls around and I approach him to let him know how to easily fix similar issues in the future. I knew about his thin skin and ego issues, so I actually practiced how to talk to him a couple of times beforehand to figure out how to best phrase everything. I even made a point of doing it when there wasn't anyone else around, so he wouldn't think I was trying to make him look bad in front of others. It didn't really seem to matter though. As soon as he thought I was criticizing, he went on the offensive. Is your name John? Are you my boss? No, I'm not your boss. Exactly, so don't tell me what to do. I don't need your help. I don't need you telling me what to do. Until you're John, I don't have to listen to things you say. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. It took me a lot longer than I'd like to admit to figure out a little trick, and I was just trying to save you some time and stress. I used to be the new guy and Billy interrupted me. I said, don't talk to me. If you have a problem with me, go talk to John. Until then, screw off. He stalked off and I kind of shrugged my shoulders and moved on. I've had my behind chewed on by people with a much worse bite than Billy. I tried to help him out, so now I can wash my hands of this with a clean conscience. Usually, I give the new hires my personal number and tell them to call or text me whenever, and I'd help them through anything. I did give him my number on his first day with us and I never heard a peep from him. He said he didn't want my help, so I ensured that any further services I had to do to clean up his mess were all properly documented. Well, Tuesday morning he comes up and asks me a pretty basic question about something. I just raised my eyebrow at him and told him to go ask John, as just yesterday he told me he didn't want to listen to me. I still would have helped him if he'd apologized or been in any way contrite. Instead, he stalked off, cursing me not so under his breath. Petty? Probably, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. But there's more. During week 3, John pulls me into his office and asks me about my opinions on Billy. Normally, I try to cover for a newer guy a little. I'm a big believer in solving things at the lowest level. Which is why I did that one service without having it marked and why I tried to approach Billy. Things can be a little rocky for a new person, but Billy had a huge attitude problem and he was horrible at his job. You could get away with one or the other if you've got the other in spades. But it's hard to stick around when you suck so spectacularly at both. And after all, he did tell me to talk to John if I had any issue with him. Remember Liz, the account representative? We had each other's cell numbers and she liked to gossip with me and to the other account reps. So I knew that half of Billy's ticket that had been marked complete had issues with them. I knew about the ones I had done, but apparently the other techs were also doing a lot of fixes of Billy's work. Homeowners had been calling in to complain about his behavior. Many of his services were half-hearted, or he would get frustrated with it and just leave, but mark his ticket as completed. And one of the account reps had made a formal harassment complaint against Billy to HR, and another had made an informal one to a supervisor to document it in case it continued. I told John that some of the account reps were uncomfortable with Billy and why. I hinted that I knew about the harassment complaint. I also told him which account rep supervisor to ask about Billy's behavior in order to tease out the unofficial complaint. I also named off some of the account names that I had to double back to fix issues that Billy had marked as completed without issue. I detailed the work or lack of the work that I had found on those jobs. I even showed him some pictures of my findings. I have been taking before and after photos for years, so I have thousands of pictures on my phone which had saved my bacon on more than one occasion. I also talked about some of the interactions I had with Billy during training and after. John already knew about most of the stuff. We did have a little bit of a laugh over some of the pictures I showed. Neither of us could believe how bad the quality of some of the work was. I didn't really provide John with any major revelations about Billy. But I had been working at my job longer than John, and he knew I had some personal ties back to the corporate office. So he wanted to see what I had picked up on both locally and from the out-of-state connections I had. Sadly, little Billy was let go on the next day. Telling everything I did wasn't the deciding factor, as they were already moving in that direction, but it sure as hell didn't help Billy's chances. The last story is called You Might Just Get What You Wish. I'm a retired state park supervisor, and this happened a couple of years before I retired. The department is organized in 3 divisions: Parks, Maintenance and Administration. The Parks is responsible for the day-to-day operation of a park. Maintenance handles major construction and repair projects, the motor pool, equipment, maintenance, etc. And Administration handles the budgets, hiring, legal, contracts and so on. The parks in an area are in a group with a group manager, with a maintenance group with its own manager for support. The manager titles fell under administration, so someone with that title could be assigned to either parks or maintenance. Our longtime group manager retired, and we waited to see who the new manager would be. It's never a quick process, bureaucracy in action, but after several months, a new guy was appointed as our group manager. He came in from another region, really excited about the promotion, but had never worked at a park, just in maintenance. About a month after he got there, it was time for the spring meetings of our group's supervisors and assistant supervisors. This is where he announced that we were going to go by the book from now on. All overtime requests had to be approved by him first before any overtime was put in. Additionally, work schedule changes for us and our staffs had to be approved by him, with at least 1 week's notice. Now technically, he was correct, those are the rules for state employees and what he was used to. But we had always been more flexible out of practical necessity. One of the things about the park side was that during camping season we were required to have a supervisor on site 24/7, so we lived on our parks. It wasn't too bad. We had a cabin which doubled as our headquarters, and it saved a lot on travel. The downside was that you had days where you were sleep deprived, since some nights you'd be woken up to take care of some problems. Once the camping season was over, we were generally working from home, at our group headquarters, or helping out the maintenance group with repairs in the park. Our previous managers had all done some time in the parks, so they knew what it was like. They told us to just take care of whatever issue happened, and then email any incident reports and overtime requests to them the next day. They considered staff scheduling to be our job. Our staff were seasonal employees like college students, retirees, etc. And in order to accommodate various appointments, family issues, etc., we'd allowed them to swap days with each other or make up lost time. As long as staffers worked the 40 hours and the park was staffed, everyone was happy. But that was not going to be allowed any longer. His other policy change was that we were to call him immediately if we had to call in the police, the fire department, forest rangers, game wardens, an ambulance, or directed someone to a clinic for a medical issue. We all tried to talk him out of this, but he wasn't budging. A lot of shared looks, eye rolls, and shrugged shoulders resulted as we all reached the same conclusion. After the meeting, my assistant asked me what I thought. I said, he's really going to regret this. He has no idea of what he's in for. Once the season started, he found out. Oh boy, did he find out. He got phone calls at all hours of the day and nights, 7 days a week. Someone woke us up at 1 AM with a complaint that we had to go address. He got a phone call requesting overtime. Someone asked us, my kid's sick, where's the nearest clinic? He got a phone call. We called the police to deal with some drunken idiots. He got a phone call. A bear in the park? had the game wardens in? That means a phone call. Every time we got asked to handle something outside of normal hours or on his list, he got a phone call. He'd ask for it, he got it. With all the phone calls from every supervisor and assistant in our group, I don't think he got more than 1 or 2 nights of uninterrupted sleep a week. And I heard his wife wasn't happy about the constant calls to their house. To add to his workload, we made sure to send him emails documenting the reason for each phone call. We sent in forms we'd been told years before weren't required. The new guy hadn't requested them, but why should we leave it to chance? He was tied to his desk, answering the phone and trying to read the flood of emails, forms and reports he was getting. We were following his instructions to the letter and then some. This went on for about 5 weeks and then we got an email from him. He was resigning as our group manager and going back to his old job in maintenance. It had taken us just a little over a month to break him. I heard he was a lot happier back there and I hope he learned the truth of the old saying. Be careful of what you wish for. You might just get it. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.